So we did it again. We were getting ready, and we thought we had planned everything, and this is our first convention that starts on a Friday. And so apparently, because it starts on Friday, it starts at 4 p.m. It's currently 11 a.m.
We're in Boston. We're about to go to Arisia Con.
There's just not much to say. The trip here was fine. Like, there was literally nothing to talk about. We've been hanging out with my friend and her roommates, and they all are really cool people, which is very helpful. Everyone works essentially in the service industry, so we can keep going to restaurants and bars and see them. I really love it here. I'm enjoying just walking around the city a lot, and I don't have much else to say other than I really love this.
So for Arisia Con, we're going to Shark Boy and Lava Girl. One more week, I guess. And after that, we'll be done. After having learned everything we've learned, we just pack up and go right back to school. So that's going to be interesting, to say the least. I think I'm ready to be back. I miss Wofford a lot, but I've had a really great time doing this, and it was something I never thought I'd be able to do or have the opportunity to do. So it works very well for me. Alright, so now that the microphone's actually working, we're at the convention and we're getting ready, and I'm finally in my Shark Boy uniform, Avery's in her Lava Girl uniform, and we are getting ready to go. Yeah, uniform, cosplay, whatever you want to call it.
Stop moving.
Oh no, I'll show you that. I have a fit now.
You got it, actually.
Oh, I did get it. Alright, so we're going to go upstairs and get started.
Are you guys excited to be here today?
Yes.
Is this your first convention? I'm gonna say no.
I've never been to this one.
What drew you here then?
Me. I dragged you along with me. Yeah, I heard about it through friends. I've gone to a plethora of conventions at this point, everything from anime to sci-fi to like strictly literature to all over the board really. A lot of the original source material is from like even so far back as the 70s, so it's just the demographic that was exposed to it the earliest and still like grew up with it and loves it the most is still, present now.
Okay, please take a picture of your costumes.
Sure.
I'm close to 4 years now, so for quite some time, but I didn't start making my cosplays until a few months ago. So, I cosplayed for the first time probably about 4 or 5 years ago, but it was all like store-bought, like just a coat or something. Really bad quality on eBay.
The Goodwill closet cosplay.
Yeah. Like, seriously, I'd say probably like last year. I started I learned how to sew last year so that I could make things. So we came from different places. We're both staying at the same place though. So I had to come like an hour to get to the place where we're staying, and then about another hour to get here from where we're staying.
Okay.
Yeah, same. I came about an hour to the place we're staying, and then about an hour to get here. 45 minutes, an hour or so to get here. Yep. I have gone 2.5 hours by car, but in February I'm flying to DC for Katsucon. There's a convention in Rome that I really want to go to.
Wow.
I would fly to Rome For me, to an actual convention, never more than 2 hours. The longest I've ever gone to an event where I've cosplayed was a Renaissance fair, and that was close to 3 hours. I'd go anywhere in the world, really. I mean, I love traveling, and I travel a lot with family. So, I've grown up like that, so it wouldn't be a stretch for me to go to a convention somewhere and then also just make that into a vacation around that, like what you said. Conventions are where you can feel like your honest self and meet some really nice people along the way. So it's just a safe space, and it's a place where you can really just feel comfortable. And I'd say never judge a book by its cover. It's cliche, but it's true. Don't not go because you think it's going to be a bunch of nerds in their mom's basements. Go because you want to go with an open mind and just take the experience for what it is, no matter what happens. And don't feel pressured to cosplay. That's another thing. Like, if you don't want to cosplay, that's fine. No one's going to look down on you for it. If you do want to cosplay and you have a terrible outfit, wear that anyway. You're going to have more fun.
And then I'd say if you do want to go and you've been like thinking about it and you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough to like cosplay, I'd say just go for it because it's like a judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
Everybody is so accepting and like it's a great environment.
We're here at the convention, and we are having a great time. We've actually talked to a couple of professional photographers that have been really excited to see our content and stuff like that. We've gotten a few interviews.
It's very different than other conventions I've been to. The age range is like significantly skewed higher than anything I've seen
There are
before.
a lot of old people.
Something that was created in that era. It's not shocking that people are still showing up even now, decades later.
Exactly.
United States.
Yeah. So speaking of which, is this your first convention? Is this a convention that you regularly go to, or
This is my 100th convention.
in general? I'm
I've been
guessing.
to 100. This one marks 100 conventions I've been to.
Wow. Did you get a cake or anything to celebrate, or?
I had a drink last night. So
There you go.
Honestly, it was just, I was fascinated with photography as a kid. I took a college course, and I just walked around like, friends, outings, and started getting these really candid shots. And then somebody said to me, why don't you go to a convention? Why don't you do some volunteer work and see what it leads to? And now I've been all over the place.
My mother and I actually have been going to conventions since 2006. Even now that I'm an adult, she still comes with me and cosplays. She actually only started getting into it when I was older, when our tastes aligned. So she cosplays now as Agatha from the original Pokemon series, Elite Four. And she's done Yzma, and she's done one more, but I can't remember what it is. Oh, General Leia. I try to start at least 3 months in advance because I know I have the habit of waiting till the last minute. But in general, a cosplay takes me about a week. I do believe that you can buy pieces of your cosplay, and that's totally fine. Like, I bought this and then just dyed it gray.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have time to make it.
A punk street green ranger. I took my attempt at making foam, the shield. I only made
Like
half
Eva
shield,
foam kind of stuff?
Yeah, I made like a Mad Max type thing where it's like half a shield. It was interesting, but it also was more like comfortable because I see so many people in
I'm in like
such
4
big,
layers of
giant
corset.
outfits, and I could just say, you have, I praise you for walking out all day in that because me, I don't think I could do it. But I mean, it's a big community. I mean, I think we all grow up, we want to belong and actually, meet people we can actually just feel comfortable and 100% ourselves. And with this community, I can be myself. And I think it's amazing.
My fiance introduced us because he was like, oh, you gotta meet this awesome photographer. And I was Timmy Turner and he was Jordan Von Strangle. It was weird, but it ended up, we've been friends for 2 years, 3 years?
Probably 3 years.
3 years, 3 years.
There are people I've encountered who like to just keep it as just con friends, but there's also that I've developed a good relationship with outside of conventions. And what am I saying? I've taken part in being part of weddings or even photographing some of the people's weddings, and I was honored and humbled by it.
Some people I see every convention, and I'm happy to see them there, but outside life is kind of hectic. And some people, they're able to make the time and you can connect. In general, it's nice to have a place where you can see friends.
Be respectful. really, because I mean, be respectful and courteous and ask permission to take a photo. And or touch
my hair.
And also, I will say there are creeps in the community. That's one thing. Just be with people, go with conventions, and if you feel uncomfortable, speak up and say something. Not be shy. Tell them, hey, look, I feel uncomfortable. And if they don't want to listen, find somebody and take care of the situation.
2 things for me. 1, try it, because you never know if you're gonna like it if you don't try it. And 2, please be appropriate with your hands near people's cosplay. A lot of things take a lot of time to make and are breakable.
But another thing I would say is, give it a shot. You never know what lies, like the opportunities, and just so many things can happen.
True. I met my fiance at a con.
I mean, out of the years I've gone, I mean, I've met awesome people like yourself. I've met famous people who some I've developed a relationship with. Larry Kenny, voice of Lionel from Thundercats, wished me happy birthday. And my cousin next to me was like, wait, Larry Kenny? I said, yeah. He said, you know Thundercats? I said, yeah. I said, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, yeah.
So we just got back. We did the 6.5-hour drive from Boston, and we are now back in Harrisburg. And tomorrow morning we are driving to South Carolina. Sci-Fi convention was very different from the anime and furry conventions. I think one of the good reasons for going to different things means that we got to see a lot of different kinds of people show up. I think the anime convention, I would say the age range was primarily 20s and 30s. I would say that's where I would put most of the people that showed up, and some younger people. At the furry convention, I saw a lot more younger people for sure. It seemed like, I don't know, the furry convention had a much more welcoming environment for newbies, especially since it was a new convention itself. And then the sci-fi convention definitely had the greatest range in ages, but it definitely was more towards the older end overall. But I will say, even though I was really impressed by the cosplays at the anime convention, I really loved the ones at the sci-fi convention, even if, well, mainly because I think I didn't recognize as many of them. Like, they were just interesting to look at and try to figure out what they were.
Yeah, I noticed whenever we went to the sci-fi convention that there were a lot of people dressed in like armor and different, almost out of era that weren't really science fiction or didn't seem to be, but there was a lot of armor and stuff like that kind of just around the convention.
I guess one thing that also I noticed was that was the only convention where people talked about the Renaissance Fair. And I heard the Renaissance Fair brought up multiple times, just either in passing by or in interviews.
Yeah, they even had like that ballroom dancing thing where they were all dancing together to older sounding music, like Renaissance era music, and that was really interesting too. They were all dressed in era specific stuff. I would say that my favorite costumes out of all of them were at the anime convention. There were some really top tier level, like movie tier level cosplay that they had there. The furry convention had the most color, I guess. And I would almost say they had the most similar costumes out of all of them.
What, the furries?
Yeah, the anime convention had everything.
What I noticed between the anime convention and the sci-fi one was, I would say the source material for most of the cosplays we saw at the anime convention were drawn media, like animated. But the sci-fi convention, I think most of the characters were based off of live action media. One thing that I really liked was people who approached us about our cosplays were really excited, and a lot of them said thank you for like showing them their childhood again. Overall, I thought the sci-fi convention was very interesting. I'm still not sure what my favorite one was. It may have been that one for some of the people we met, but for scale, it was the anime convention. And then for friendliness, it was the furries. Like, they were just the nicest.
The weirdest part about the furry convention, looking back, I think there were a combination of things that it wasn't my favorite convention. I won't say it's my favorite. I can't say that. But I will say that the furry convention was our very first convention. We were really excited to go. We were really excited to shoot. It was really exciting. It was something that I hadn't done before, Avery hadn't done before. I think part of that kind of played into our enjoyment of the conventions. As each of the conventions went on, it started to feel more like something we had to do to finish up, more than something that we really, really wanted to do, which was what the first convention ended up being.
I think also, like, we've worked for so long on this. There was plenty of weeks of prep work before this happened, and we've been putting every free moment essentially into this, and we're tired. Like, I know Marshall really wants to be back at Wofford. I'm ready to be back. I'd rather stay in Boston, I think. It's just an incredible city. But I'm tired of editing a little bit. I love it, but it's very tedious. And just the little things, like forgetting one thing can mess up everything. It's the little things that slip your mind that are the most infuriating. If it was something big, it's hard to be angry about it because then you just have to figure out a workaround. I think all in all, this has just been, on top of being a documentary and a series and something I think we can be proud of, that we actually studied and learned a lot about. This was more of a adult growing experience, kind of the first trip that we've 100% planned, followed through on, met deadlines, and like not missed a flight or done anything like that. And I mean, dealing with luggage alone when you're a kid is nothing, but when you're an adult, you have to actually plan a lot more behind it. And not having a professor standing over our shoulder saying like, hey, this is where we're going tomorrow, be up by 8 a.m. I mean, that's just a whole different world. So yeah, tomorrow is going to be a very fun day of driving and editing and getting to actually like see our friends for the first time in a month.
Yeah, so with that, I guess we're done with our conventions. Cultures and Conventions is over minus the final episode, so I guess that's all.